I am a car guy. I have always been a car guy. Back in 2004, my first car was a stunning Saturn SL2. At least it had a dual overhead cam. A year later, I ended up upgrading to a mighty Chevy Cavalier Z24. I drove that Cavalier until it literally rusted out, and then I bought my Subaru WRX wagon. And I have loved driving this thing for the past 8 years, and I'm honestly not in a hurry to retire it, but I do know that its days are numbered and I will need to replace this thing sometime soon. I could just follow my history and purchase another car, but there's one vehicle coming out in the next year that really promises many advantages over a car without the typical compromises. So what are the compromises that the Cybertruck addresses for me, and why am I so sold on it? Well, to answer this, I put together this video of the 6 ways that I think a Cybertruck would impact my life if it were my next vehicle. Now, this video is very much from my perspective, and so you can take it for whatever you want. But if you'd like another perspective, I'm partnering with Todd, the Cybertruck truck guy, who has put together a very similar video list from his perspective as a truck guy. So if you're interested in the Cybertruck, you really need to check out Todd's channel. He pretty much covers everything you could ever want to know about the Cybertruck and how it stacks up against current trucks and other electric ones. Todd's been using trucks for fun and for work for years, and he really speaks with authority on all things truck related. So I highly recommend you check out his video and his channel. If you would ask me why I don't drive a truck, I would probably respond with a variation of I drive so much that I need something that gets really good gas mileage. See, for the past 17 months, I've had a 150-mile daily commute. Well, up until March before. Despite my claim that I need really good gas mileage, my Subaru isn't particularly economical here. I get about 28 miles per gallon on a good day, which comes to 5.36 gallons per day. Oh, and since it's the turbo version, it likes premium gas. So I currently pay about $2.96 a gallon here in Pennsylvania. If I multiply the 536 gallons per day by 296, I'm paying $15.86 a day just for gas. To see how this compares with a truck, I picked the most popular truck in America, the Ford F-150, and then down selected to the most efficient drivetrain, which happens to be the 3-liter turbo diesel. The 4-wheel drive version of this truck gets 28 miles per gallon highway and a combined mileage of 24 miles per gallon. Since my commute is primarily highway, I used a slightly higher number of 26 miles per gallon. Dividing the 150-mile commute by 26 miles per gallon, I get 5.77 gallons of diesel per day. And then when you multiply this by the current diesel price in my area of $2.74 a gallon, I get a daily fuel cost of $15.81, or pretty much exactly what I pay for my car. And with that, I totally disproved my point about why I drive a car. Or did I? See, I know my car is expensive to run, and I hate throwing $350 to $400 down the drain every month. I could get the F-150 turbo diesel, but then I would be right up where I am today, except that I'd also be on the hook for a $49,029 truck. I'll let you go price that out. If I were to put down a healthy $20,000 and finance $29,029 for 60 months at 3% interest, my monthly payment would come to $521.61. But that's not the scary part. The scary part is when I remember that I owe $15.81 a day for diesel. Yeah, you multiply that by 20 work days and I'm spending another $316 per month on fuel, or a total of $837.77 a month just for payments and fuel, not including any depreciation. The interesting thing is that at first glance, the Cybertruck doesn't look much different than the F-150. The mid-range 2-motor model starts at $49,900, or only $871 more than the F-150. Because of this, if I put down the same $20,000 with the same financing terms, the monthly payment would be very similar at $537.26. But how does the Cybertruck stack up with fuel? Or rather, the lack of it? Well, Tesla has not released a battery size or estimated efficiency, so we'll have to make some educated guesses here. John of the Cleaner Watt YouTube channel put together a guess based on the monthly operating cost comparison presented by Elon during the Cybertruck unveiling. He estimated that the Cybertruck would have an efficiency close to that of a Model X at around 0.35 kilowatt hours per mile. I tend to agree with John's number. I spent several hours running drag and rolling resistance calculations on the Cybertruck, and I came up with efficiencies between 0.33 kilowatt hours per mile and 0.45 kilowatt hours per mile, depending on the speed that you're driving. If you're interested, I can put together a video of how I calculated these numbers, so comment away. Let's use the highest guess of 0.45 kilowatt hours per mile, as I tend to drive a little bit on the faster side. Plus, it ends up being a little more conservative for these calculations. If I multiply my 150-mile commute by 0.45 kilowatt hours per mile, we get 67.5 kilowatt hours per day. Currently, I pay about 8 cents per kilowatt hour for my electric, so multiplying the 8 cents per kilowatt hour by 67.5 kilowatt hours per day, we get $5.4 a day, or $108 a month. A savings of $208 a month over the most efficient F-150. Taking all these numbers into account, we see that the monthly fuel and payment expense for the Ford is $838. For the dual motor Cybertruck, it's $645, and just for fun, I added my car, which I fully own, so only fuel costs here, and those are $317. So suddenly a Cybertruck doesn't seem like such a bad value proposition at only $328.12 a month more than my 18-year-old car. Since I'm a car guy and in the market for a new vehicle, I decided to compare the Cybertruck against the newest version of my Subaru WRX, which would be the 2020 model. With a base MSRP of $28,395 and putting our $20,000 down, my payments would only be $151 a month. Fuel economy is slightly worse than my current car, so fuel costs actually increased to $355. In total, the new WRX would cost me $506 a month, or only $139 less than a Cybertruck. Now, obviously, I could find a lot more expensive cars, and I could also find cheaper used cars with better gas mileage. And there are a lot of things I could explore here, but I don't have all day, and you don't have all day. And I really just wanted to show that the Cybertruck is an electric vehicle, brings a much larger vehicle to within the striking distance of my current car from a price perspective. But I needed some good reasons to make this price leap. So why would I want a Cybertruck over another car? The second reason I've always driven cars is really their unbeatable performance. See, I grew up in the mountains of Pennsylvania where the roads were curvy and there really wasn't many vehicles. And so over time, when I would get a new car, I wanted to upgrade both the power and the torque. That Saturn SL2, that made 145 horsepower and it went through a 4-speed automatic. With the Cavalier, I stepped up to 150 horsepower, but the WRX was the biggest jump, up to 225 horsepower in the base configuration. And then after I added a high flow exhaust and a tune, it could theoretically put out close to 280 horsepower. Add to this the asymmetrical all-wheel drive, and that's really why I've not gotten bored with that car yet. But the problem is, once you've driven a fast car and a well-handling car, you really don't want to go back to something that's slower or worse handling. And thus, this has been my problem driving most of the trucks out there. And yes, I am aware of the existence of hopped-up turbo diesels. I'm not sure about the handling on that front though. But as you may guess, the Cybertruck promises to be quicker than my WRX, with a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds for the dual motor version. If you were to plunk down the change for the 3 motor, this number just gets ludicrous. That time drops to like 2.9 seconds, and Elon showed this off in his presentation for the thing, where it beat a Porsche 911. The crazy thing is that these are kind of the maximum times. Tesla's been known to actually boost the performance of their cars just through over-the-air software tweaks. As for handling, the Cybertruck has a full air suspension under the truck, and this means the ride should not only be very good, but also customizable for whatever you're doing. Meaning, if you want a firmer ride for curvy roads, you could dial that in for a nice flat ride. But if you're just off-roading or just tooling around, you can dial that in for a softer, more compliant ride. Elon has also said that there will be active damping on the Cybertruck, although this may only be an option on the more expensive variants. Active damping continuously and automatically adjusts shock absorber characteristics to give optimal handling while also keeping the suspension active for the bumps. Sandy Monroe has an excellent video on this where he goes into the Cybertruck suspension, ride, and handling, and so I'll put that up here for you guys. So the Cybertruck has better performance than most cars, and it handles better too. And the price is within reach, but why would I want one over a fast, well-handling car? See, hauling things has been the biggest drawback to owning a car. And now as I'm a homer and a DIY enthusiast, there are many times that I wish I could really haul big things a lot more easily. I have been able to overcome many of these challenges since I drive a wagon. This thing will easily eat an 8-foot board inside of it. And for larger things, there's always the roof. I've put a 36-inch exterior door up there, 4x8 sheets of plywood, and even a few 10-foot long 2x10s. But there are still times when I need to borrow a truck from my father-in-law or even rent one. The problem is especially apparent when I'm dealing with removing debris and other waste from my many projects. For instance, this spring I broke up a 12-foot by 12-foot concrete slab in my backyard, and since I didn't have a good way of removing the pile of concrete, I decided to gravelize it with a sledgehammer. Yeah, that was rough. I'm still working on that. One of the hauling features I love about the Cybertruck is its sliding bed cover. There are many times when I'm hauling something that I would either want to protect from the weather or I don't want stolen if we stop off for a meal or run into a store. I gotta admit that I don't think of myself as that much of an off-road enthusiast, but this may be a difference of perspective. See, while I've never been rock crawling or mud bogging, I do enjoy a good drive around the back roads of the Appalachian Mountains, and I've occasionally had to turn around. I can think of one time I took my Cavalier down this particularly rough road, you know, where it says like 4-wheel drive recommended on the sign. It was so rough and so rocky that I had to carefully pick the line we drove, and I still ended up scraping a few rocks on the way down. Eventually, we came to this huge mud puddle that covered the entire road, and I wasn't about to try to drive through that, so we had to retrace our tracks the entire way back through the rocks. Other times I've been driving and there's been fords across creeks, and if I could have gone through them, I wouldn't have had to take the long way around, and it really would have shortened my route. But wintertime is when I've often had to reroute the most around no winter maintenance roads. And yes, I have dared a few in my cars without getting stuck, but those were some of the most adrenaline-filled, nail-biting experiences of my life. To have a vehicle with the off-road capabilities of the Cybertruck would allow me to go places I've never been before without ever having to worry about getting back out. 16 inches of ground clearance is just unmatched by any truck, and as my friend Todd pointed out in one of his videos, the Cybertruck will most likely have an armored bottom, which also means I don't have to ever worry about picking my line to avoid rocks. But I'm most excited for the snow. See, I do love getting out in the snow, and if you followed my channel for any period of time, you'll know that I like to find no winter maintenance roads to test my homemade sleds. The Cybertruck would allow me to go to these places easily and really without fear of ever getting stuck. My wife, dog, and I love getting out into nature, whether it's camping or hiking. Having a truck would be awesome for camping. And Tesla's obviously thought about this as they showed this render during the unveiling where they put a camper configuration on the back of the bed. While I've never been crazy about this render, I do think people will come up with some really sweet camping accessories for the Cybertruck. Not only this, but it really is a perfect vehicle for bringing along some of the creature comforts of home. Elon Musk stated back in December that the HVAC system will be able to be piped into the bed, which means that a camper cap or tent will automatically have air conditioning and heat. Also, there's a power outlet in the vault, which really solves issues with electronics charging or yeah, it's just nice to have that no matter where you are. You typically have to run a generator to get this sort of features, but since you have a 100 kilowatt hour battery, you have more than enough power for several days of camping. And related to camping, I'm really a sucker for a good road trip, and the Cybertruck offers some great advantages here too. As I previously showed, the biggest advantage of an electric vehicle is its cost savings on a per mile basis, the fuel savings. Now, granted, an electric vehicle like the Cybertruck does lack some convenience related to charging on road trips, but Tesla has by far the best network of DC fast chargers, and you can pretty much travel anywhere in the US, and actually a lot of places around the rest of the world, while staying on their network. Finally, Camping and road tripping require more cargo space than your typical commute, especially when you throw in a dog or some kids. I can only see our space requirements increasing in the future. And so the storage in the Cybertruck, the frunk and the sail pillar and the vault floor storage really offers so much more space than really any car does, or even SUV or truck, maybe even for that matter.
Hey everyone, it's Todd, the Cybertruck truck guy. For more than 20 years, I've been working in the landscape and snow removal business, using trucks for work and, on my own, using them for play. Behind me, you see some of the trucks that make up my truck history. The one right behind me is my personal vehicle, a small truck, a Toyota Tacoma. But behind that are some of the bigger trucks I've worked with, 3/4 tons, 1 tons, all the way up to ones like an F550. I use them from everything from plowing snow to hardcore off-roading and everything in between. But none of them have affected me as much as a Cybertruck will be affecting me, which is why I want to share with you the 7 ways the Cybertruck would change my life if I got it tomorrow.
My dad is a lifelong auto mechanic, and I grew up working in his garage. So for me, whenever anything is broken on my car or I need to do some maintenance, I end up being the one doing most of it. And this has been great because it means that I can afford to drive an 18-year-old car with 300,000 miles on it. But this also means that I end up having to do all of the work on my car. Now, the Cybertruck and other electric vehicles will not be maintenance and repair free, but they do offer some significant advantages in this department. Oil changes are the most frequent maintenance items for any dinosaur-powered vehicle. It's like using more dead dinosaurs to lubricate the dinosaur burning machine. So much dinosaur death. Every 5,000 miles, or 1 to 2 months in my case, I'm draining oil, changing the filter, and filling it back up. This costs $30 to $40, it's messy, and it takes about an hour of my time. Last year I drove 40,000 miles in 12 months, which comes to 8 oil changes. 8+ hours of my time and close to $300 for oil and filters. For a Cybertruck, this task is just gone. Not only this, but there are no spark plugs, engine air filters, or transmission oils to change. You do still have to change brake pads, but with regenerative braking providing so much of the stopping power, they will last a lot longer. On a Tesla Model S forum, some owners are reporting cars at 120 to 200,000 miles that have yet to need brake pads. I typically need to change pads every 3 to 4 years, or about 50 to 75,000 miles. When it comes to repairs, the Cybertruck and other electric cars have a huge potential benefit over an ICE vehicle. And this comes in the form of simplicity. If you've ever cracked open an engine, you immediately realize how many intricate specialized parts are in there, and they're all moving around very quickly. The same is also true in the transmission. I mean, check out the internals of mine when I tore it apart several years ago. While EVs still do have moving parts, there is an order of magnitude reduction in them. Think tens of moving parts in the drivetrain instead of hundreds. As an engineer, I know that the simplest solution is the best.
And I have another thing, which is like, the best part is no part. The best process is no process. It weighs nothing, costs nothing, can't go wrong.
So by reducing moving parts by a factor of 10, the Cybertruck should, in theory, be more reliable than a comparable truck or my Subaru. I'm actually working on another video looking at the maintenance and repair advantages of EVs. Be sure to subscribe if you're interested in seeing that. So these are the 6 reasons why me as a car guy am excited to get my hands on the Cybertruck and how I think it will change my life for the better. But what do you think? Are you excited by the Cybertruck or not excited by the Cybertruck? I'd really love to hear your comments down below. And then be sure to go and show Todd, the Cybertruck guy, some love. You can check out his video. Todd's a diehard truck guy that I really think you'll appreciate. He comes at this from a totally different perspective than I do, and he really speaks with authority on all things trucks. I'm Josh, and I will see you guys in the next one.